Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this lace confetti collage angel. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To create the collage for these angels, we'll start with this Floriani Wet and Gone Tacky Pressure Sensitive Water Soluble Stabilizer. These are sheets. One side is a sort of a texture, and then the other side is smooth. And this is the part that peels away. If you could imagine, this part peels away to reveal the sticky side. So before I reveal the sticky side, what I want to do is, this is 8.5 by 11. So I want to draw a circle on this side, sort of the textured side. This is the wrong side of the sticky. What I'll do is I go in the kitchen and I try to find a plate or something that's the right size. This is 8.5, so if I had an 8.5 inch plate, that'd be great. The best I could find was this colander. It's a little bit less. It's more like 8 inches, so I'm setting it on the textured side. Remember, this is just the peel away part. We're going to peel this away. So I'm just going to take a pencil. This backing part is the part that will dissolve. I wanted to use a disappearing marker, but all of my disappearing markers are pretty dry. Now, I'm going to peel away the backing, and this will reveal the sticky side of this product. Now, this is actually going to be the front of the angel. This circle will become her dress. It'll actually make 2 dresses. And so if you can imagine, the edge will become the hem. So I'm going to start with the hem, and I like to use just sort of a flat, airy type of a lace. This is something that I had from French hand sewing. Anybody else ever try that? I did French hand sewing by machine. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for the hem, and I'm just going to sort of like loop and twist and arrange it here along the edge. I'm actually extending it beyond the pencil line, and when I cut it out, I'm going to be cutting through the lace. So I'm not trying to get the edge right on the pencil line. I'm kind of overlapping it, knowing that it's going to be cut. So I'm going to go around once with this, and you can use anything you like, or you don't even have to create a hem. It's just something that I like. And this sticky side is sticky enough to hold this, but it's not so sticky that I can't just pull it all off if I wanted, if I didn't like this. That looks good. I'm also going to do a strip over here, which will eventually become the sleeves. But right now I just want to focus on the circle. Now I have some random pieces that are left over from other projects. This was from the bunny that I just made, and you can see there are some little sequins which are really cute, but I just want you to know that the back of this will actually be the front. So when I place this, I'm putting it with the right side down. Hope that makes sense. Here's another little scrap. Now I don't have to necessarily make circles with my little trims, you know, I can, you know, just do straight across or whatever. But I find that for the beginning, when I'm starting, I like to just sort of create a hem. I'm going to want to add some sewn buttons and different things, and so it's nice to have something kind of dense the way this, I think it's wool or cashmere, the sweater is, and it's nice to have that so that later on you can sew a button or a trim or something to it. If it's just sewn to the threads, then it will just pull right through. It won't hold. Okay, now I feel like I'm a little bit too dense here, so I'm going to add some more filmy laces. Let's see. Here's a little piece of something. And now I'll be a little bit more random as I place these. I like the way this header, this little bit, I can make it into sort of like a loop or something, a little shape there. Here's some tatting. It's got a slight blue cast, which is cute. The tatting will really show up. I don't want to use too much of it. And another thing that really shows up is eyelet. This is fun. This is just some shreds of paper. Paper, it's not really ideal for this, but it's kind of fun. And, you know, when you put this through the wash to dissolve the backing product, the paper does take a, you know, it kind of changes the texture of the paper, but it is kind of fun to start with it and see if any of it will still be there. I think I'm going to use this. I cut one of these little flowers from the eyelet because that's sort of, you know, the really identifiable trait of eyelet are those shapes. Now remember, I'm putting this face down. I can tell this is a little too dense, so I'm going to try to just fill it in with a few little bits. This string, this baker's twine, will give it a little bit of the sparkle from the gold. I'm going to be placing another layer of this sticky on top. So I'm not too worried about the texture here. It's all going to be flat. Just like little shreds and threads. This is stuff that I would ordinarily throw away, but I knew this design was coming up and I just was kind of trying to save everything. The edge of this design is all white, and then I don't have enough white in the center, so I think I'm going to add a little bit more of this to the center. And also the very, very center is where the head will go. And I just want to make sure that I have enough density in there that it's not just thread in the center, but it's not too thick. I think that'll work. And now over here, I'm going to create something that will wind up being the arms. And I have a tendency to make this too thick. So I'm going to try to just be very delicate with this section over here. I'm remembering to put it face down. A little bit of sparkle. Great. Okay, now I'm going to peel a second piece of the Wet and Gone Tacky and place that over with the sticky side down. There we go, and now I'm ready to sew. I'm going to do some sort of free motion sewing on this. I will lower my feed dogs and then switch to this darning foot. My machine is a Bernina, and this is what mine looks like, the darning foot. It has the circle little ring there, and you know, your darning foot might look a little different, but it'll probably be something like this. So I'm going to put that on, and then I have sort of an off-white, like a cream colored thread that I'm using. And I'm going to start by just sewing circles like this. And then I'm going to do some cross hatching, boom, 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 and just random meandering, you know, just loop-de-loops. Sometimes I think about a cursive letter L and boop-a-doop. Sometimes I'll do my name, you know, across. It never shows. It's not going to show, don't worry. When it's all done, whatever you do, it won't be very distinct. But it's just kind of fun to try to think of things. Here is my first step where I started in the middle and just did a big snail all the way out to the edge of the circle. I hope you can see my stitches. They're not straight and even rows. They're very irregular. Next, I'm going to do this little arm section where I will probably just do like this, just kind of loopy, random over here. Here are the loopy stitches on the arms, and I really think that's enough. That will be enough to hold that together. I'm going to add a few more little loopity loops on this, and then I'll be done. Here's how it looks. I just did some loopy loops over here. And now I'm going to sew on some buttons. Remember, this is the front. So I have a few buttons, some mother of pearl buttons. I just have this giant bag of things, and I just reach in and see what I have. I like 2-hole buttons, so I'll just pick out some of these. There's 4. I'll get a few more. I'll probably do maybe 7 buttons. And I just wanted to show you this. This is the foot on my machine that I use to sew buttons. There's an automatic, an automatic stitch that just goes boop, 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 and sews the buttons on right over this little prong. So I'm going to remove my darning foot, put this one on, and then I'm going to remember to lift up my feed dogs. I'm going to sew about maybe 7 or 9 buttons along the edge. I'm going to make sure that when I sew the buttons on, that the buttons are grabbing onto something that's a little bit more dense. I have had times where I ran this through the water to remove the film, and the buttons came all the way off because they were sewn into a spot that didn't have enough to secure the button. I won't add any buttons to the sleeve piece. The buttons are sewn on, and I also found this little thing in my bag, and so I added this little sort of a cluster of sequins. And now I'm going to cut this out right inside the pencil line. Just kind of eyeballing it. That looks good. And I've done this a lot of different ways. I have a little dish pan and I have warm water in it. I go swishy, 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 and then squeeze it out and rinse it and do that over and over again. And it's very hard to get all the sticky stuff, and it takes a long time and a lot of effort. So I have discovered that if I just put this in a lingerie bag for the washing machine and just wash it on gentle in the lingerie bag, it comes out very clean, and then I lay it flat to dry. I probably won't get back to this until tomorrow because I want to lay it flat to dry, and I'm not sure how long that's going to take. Here we go. This is what the pieces look like after they have been washed in the washing machine. I washed in cold water, gentle, and then flat overnight. This will be the arms, and this will be the dress, and this will be 2 dresses. I'm going to cut this in half. It doesn't have to be perfect, so I generally kind of like to look at it, and I see this is kind of loose right here and right here, so usually that's where I will try to make my cut so that I can kind of push them back together when I sew the seam. And also have a look at the little shreds of paper in there. See how they held together perfectly well even through the washing machine. And this will be used to make 2 sets of arms. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect, but generally what I'll do, there's a little sequin applique right there, and I don't want to have to cut that in half. So maybe I'll go right here. And this is approximately, does not have to be perfect. So I think I'll cut about right here. Oh, there's a button right there. Oh no. And then I'll fold this right sides together and sew up the seam. I have returned my machine to the regular sewing foot, and I have remembered to lift the, I lowered the feed dogs, and the feed dogs are back up again. I'll turn this in a minute, but first I wanted to show you how I just very casually just kind of cut up the center of this. It doesn't have to be perfect. And for the arms, really all I do is tie an overhand knot in the center of this piece. Gently, don't pull too hard, but just kind of gently try to get that knot. This is supposed to be the hands right here. So try to get that knot pretty small as you can without pulling too tight. If I yanked on this, it would kind of come apart. I don't want that, but I do want the hands to be small. So I want to show you that sometimes it's a little bit more work, but I will just wrap the center with a piece of thread right here, and that also kind of gives the impression of a pair of hands. So I've kind of just folded it and determined the center, and then I'll just wrap, and tie it off. I'm using a double strand of white quilting thread. Either one of these techniques is fine. It's just when you tie a knot, sometimes the hands look a little bit large depending on, the scale of your design. And if you pull too hard, then you can just kind of pull everything apart. Also, your project doesn't even really need arms. So those are my two options. Now, before I turn this right side out, I am going to do a little tiny spot there. Don't make it too big. And then I'll turn it right side out. I just cut the very, 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 very tip off. Oh, that's going to be so cute. I love that tatting right there in the front. You kind of never really know exactly what's going to show. Okay, let me get the head and everything. I'll be right back. Here we go. I have my 6-inch tool, a little, maybe 15 inches of 1/16 inch satin ribbon, and I have a 16 millimeter head bead. You can find the instructions for the faces in my Focus on Faces video. So I'll fold this piece of tulle in half. I know it's hard to see. Here you go. This is how it looks. And I'm going to tie it off in the center. It's just one strip of tulle. Sometimes I use two, but this is only one. This project is pretty small. That's tied off in the center, and then the two ends, let me cut those a little bit more even, are going to poke through the center of this little cone. And just because it's so delicate, I like to use a needle. The ends of the ribbon through the needle, and then I'm just going to kind of poke it through the very top of the dress. Very gently pull that through. And just because this is kind of delicate here, I like to add some kind of like, I look for a lace medallion. I have this whole basket full of options. I think this kind is the best for this. So I will add a little lace medallion. This is probably around an inch. Yeah, this is an inch. Before I add the head and the collar, I'm going to see how the arms will look. These are generally a little bit too long, so I'm going to trim them. So here's my first option, which is with the knot, which I think is going to be fine. And then here's the second option that I just sort of tied off. It's funny, I like this, but I feel like the color of this arm piece is too close to the colors on the front of the dress. And I think this has a little bit better contrast, so I think I'm going to use this one. All right, so here's the center back seam right here. And then I'm going to place the arms a little bit more than the hands right here, a little bit more than halfway down on the front. I think I like that. Okay, honestly, I'm just going to glue this. Okay, first one side and then the other. So here's the arms coming around to the back. I'm just going to glue those because the wings will cover that up. Just want to make sure. And when we're done, if you like, you can place something into her hands, which I'll probably put a little flower or something there. All right, so now we have a collar, and I just like to use one of these little, I think I showed you these lace motifs. One of the, a 1-inch circle. It's kind of like a little baby doily, but there's lots of options. Anything around, even the little daisies like these, I've used these and these, anything like that'll work. I've threaded the ribbon back onto my needle and I'm trying to determine the right side. I think this is it. So the right side will be out. And then the head. And remember, the arms are optional. She has enough going on. She doesn't really need to have arms. I always put a knot at the top, even though it doesn't really do much good. I feel like it gives the glue something to stick to. I'm going to spot glue her sleeve up here a little bit underneath her collar a little better. And then I'm going to spot glue the collar down, and I'm going to glue the head to the neck back here. That's looking good. I think I'm going to use one of these bluish colored flowers. She's got a slight blue in the tatting on her dress there, so I'm going to, I might as well just do that now, right? That looks good. And now we'll do her hair. This is my favorite loopy mohair. I'm going to do the figure 8 technique. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I think 4 is enough. Tie it off in the center. Then we'll make another bundle. This is the first bundle. This will be for the back. And then for the second one, I'll describe it a little better. Okay, I'm going to hold the end in these 2 fingers and wrap 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then I'm going to leave a nice tail and take the second end and go all the way around, so make a total circle around the center of the bundle, pick up the first end and tie off the center into sort of a square knot. There we go. Then I'm going to cut both of the ends. I like to leave a little bit of a tail there because I don't want the thing to come apart. And also sometimes these work as bangs. So I'll spread some glue on the back of her head. I filled that in like a circle, like a penny. And then I'm going to push the loops of yarn into the glue. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then this is for the front. So I'm a little bit more careful with this part. So the knot goes right in front of the loop. And then see, these little ends can become the bangs. We'll see. That doesn't always work. Then I'm going to twist this toward the back. I'm going to add some glue and press that into the glue on the side of her face. There's a little line of glue there. And twist and press. Just like that. And this side the same way. Twist and press. I'll add a line of glue right here. There we go. I have one little end for bangs. That'll look good. Great. Now we'll do her halo. This head bead is 16 millimeter. It's fairly small, so we don't need much wire. This is gold wire, 20 gauge. I just wrapped it around my thimble to get a kind of a circle, like a U. I'm going to add a drop of glue to each end, like that, and then I'll press it into the sides of her head. There we go. This is really cute. I'll show you. I'm not quite done, but I do want to show you the front and the back, how it looks right now. These are the ends of the arms, and I have cut quite a few wing options with my die cutting machine. I have a scallop circle die. This is 3.5 inches. So if you want to just cut a circle, you could cut a circle just 3.5 inches. I like using the scallop circle. You know what? I think this is going to be good. It kind of picks up the color. What about this one? Oh, white looks good. I take it back. I think I'm going to use white. It's a nice contrast to the neutrals in her dress. So I'm going to add a little circle of glue right here, right at the top. And of course, the instructions for the wings are in my Focus on Wings video. Now, I glue the wings to the back of her head. Don't put them too low. It doesn't really look right. I don't know why. But for some reason, it just looks better when you have the wings glued to the head instead of down at the shoulders. Now, at this point, you know, I could add a little bow here or a little decoration here or whatever, but I have a tendency to over embellish and I want to resist that. I think I'm going to tuck this sleeve a little open, more open. I don't know if it's kind of flat right there, so I'm going to give it a little bit more of a dimension by just kind of add a little glue right here and kind of press it into the side. We'll see how that looks, and then I think it's going to be done. That looks a little bit better. It's subtle, but I think it does look better. I love the way this piece of sweater helps to establish the hem of the dress and just the whole open work of the lace collage. This is really a fun project. It's addictive. I've already made a few more. Oh, I'll show them to you. This one, I used a 20 millimeter bead and I thought that was a little too big. And this one, I don't see anything too different about this one, except I had a piece of, this is silk buttonhole twist that I used and kind of looped it through instead of using the gold sparkle baker's twine, and I like the way that looks. I didn't use as much of the sweater in this one. And we're done. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.